Tonight, the world is reacting after the U.S. and Israel launched strikes on Iran, killing the country's leader. Iranian state media confirmed the Ayatollah's death tonight, saying he was killed while inside his office at his compound in the early hours of Saturday morning. Across the U.S., anti-war protesters gathered in cities like Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, even here in Denver. Others celebrated the move, hoping the attacks will lead to a real regime change in that country. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jennifer Meckles. That massive coordinated attack from the U.S. and Israel is just the beginning of what is expected to be waves of attacks. The strikes targeted Iran's missile and nuclear programs and senior leadership. Tonight, Iranian state media has confirmed the Ayatollah is dead, and Iran responded to those attacks with retaliatory strikes of their own, targeting U.S. and Israeli bases throughout the Middle East. One of those targets, an American military base in Bahrain. President Trump posted a video on social media talking about the attacks.
My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now, we're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission.
In Los Angeles, Iranian Americans were seen celebrating the death of Iran's supreme leader. In other parts of the country, protesters argue the U.S. should stay out of war in the Middle East.
We know the brutality that we have to deal with the government that's in Iran that does not represent the people. We don't want a theocracy anymore. We want a separation of church and state. We want democracy, the end of terrorism, and we want the world to pay attention and be with us.
The United States is wasting trillions of dollars, $1 trillion every year, so billions of dollars all the time, every day, on foreign wars that don't do anything for us, that don't benefit us.
Tonight, we're hearing from Iranian Americans here in Colorado, wrestling with a complicated mix of emotions after the strikes. 9 News reporter Colton Chavez spoke with a woman born in Tehran, but who has lived here in Colorado more than half her life.
Yeah, Jenny, Shideh Dashti has family still in Iran tonight, including her father, and as of this afternoon, she's not been able to reach them. But she tells us for the first time she found herself actually hoping for some outside intervention. Dashti says Iranian Americans have long wrestled with a painful tension, wanting the Islamic Republic weakened, but not at the cost of civilian lives. She points to the recent deaths of protesters, civilians, killed while protesting their government. She says one of her community's biggest fears is that the regime survives this and becomes even stronger, meaning, in her words, more death and more destruction. A director of Middle East studies at the University of Denver says if that regime does fall, the biggest question becomes, who fills the void?
I can speak, for myself, it's the first time that I was actually looking forward to some sort of foreign intervention to just stop the, bloodshed. But what this will lead to next, I really don't know. It's complicated.
We see always this big void, and then who is going to take over the helm of power, and who has the capacity to gain the loyalty that is necessary.
Dashti says the best case scenario for her community is that the strikes weaken the regime enough for the Iranian people to finish the jobs themselves. She says it's actually the first time she's felt daring enough to feel at least a moment of optimism. Jenny?
All right, Colton Chavez, thank you. We're also hearing from Colorado's congressional delegation today, including combat veterans like Democrat Jason Crow, who calls Trump's war on Iran a war of choice with no clear endgame, no authorization from Congress, and little support from Americans.
I agree that Iran should never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. The question is do we need to do this, and do we need to do this now, right? So there's a huge leap between saying, no, they shouldn't have a nuclear weapon, to now saying, we're gonna bomb the entire country and destroy their military and try to take out the regime. I believe we need to get out of the regime change business, but it's not our responsibility to push that because it usually doesn't turn out well for us.
Republican Congressman Gabe Evans, also a combat vet, he did not respond to our interview request today, but did share some words on X, which says, in part, quote, Operation Epic Fury is a necessary step to eliminate Iran's nuclear weapon capabilities, eliminate imminent threats to the United States and our allies, and defend our core national security interests. The United States has strong support from ally nations in the Middle East and will help liberate the Iranian people. You can find additional statements from all of Colorado's delegation on our website, 9news.com now. Here in Colorado, the Chautauqua Trail in Boulder is still closed tonight following a wildfire that spread through the area earlier today. That fire started just before 12:45 this afternoon, prompted some evacuation warnings in that area. Officials now say that fire, they called it the Bluebell Fire, is 100% contained tonight. Over 100 firefighters were out on the scene today trying to help contain it when it grew to about 1.
No structures were affected, and in fact, it never even really got close to the cottages, so we weren't really worried. This was all out in open space, and no structures threatened.
No structures threatened and no injuries today. Boulder Fire Rescue says crews are mopping up tonight. They'll continue to monitor the area overnight and into tomorrow. And this really just caps off the end of a very busy fire danger week. Corey Reppenhagen, the winds were in our favor today. We've had worse luck earlier in the week.
Yeah, if we had some fire weather type winds in there, we'd see some extreme fire behavior, some rapid spread, but fortunately that wasn't there today, not in Boulder County anyways. And tomorrow we'll get a little bit of a break overall because we've got some humidity coming in here. You can see the cloud cover over the top of the city here right before the sun went down. Temperatures still pretty mild, 54 here at the 9 News studios, 45 out at the big airport right now. And you can see the clouds and the moisture just kind of streaming in. It's just kind of being pushed across in the jet stream. We've got some snow showers starting to develop in the mountains. Our next storm system is still sitting out here in the Pacific Ocean. That'll be here on Tuesday, but for right now we've got some light snow showers going on in the mountains. Light snow expected, about 1, maybe 2 inches in total in some spots. Temperatures will be mild in the morning and high temperatures into the 60s once again tomorrow. Full forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Corey, thank you. At least one ICE agent has been injured following a crash with somebody they were looking for in Lakewood. Lakewood police tell us that ICE agents were out there attempting to take a person into custody in the 200 block of South Ingalls Street around 10 o'clock this morning. That's near Sheridan and Alameda. ICE agents reportedly wanted that person they wanted rammed 2 ICE vehicles with their car and then fled into a nearby apartment. Lakewood police say they weren't involved in any ICE operations. They were out there responding for any community safety concerns this afternoon. Sky 9 flew the scene, spotted a small group gathered nearby, also spotted one person being led away by federal agents. Now, we have reached out to DHS today asking about the injured agent, how they're doing, and also details of this operation today. DHS has not responded to our requests.